expressed here are those of our hosts and guest speakers and do not represent the Uniformed Services University, the Department of War, or the Henry M. Jackson Foundation for the Advancement of Military Medicine, Incorporated. Welcome back to the Check Your Six Pack podcast. I am Mandatory Funday, and this is a veteran podcast done in conjunction with the Center for the Study of Traumatic Stress and Uniformed Services University. I'm joined here today by a friend of mine, Kagan Dunlap. We actually have a very similar story. He just joined the Marine Corps, the United States military's very own cult. Thanks for traveling to be with us, Kagan.
I thought you were going to say something way worse than that. I was like waiting for the doom and all that stuff. Yeah, man, I'm happy to be here.
Can you introduce yourself to the audience and, tell us why you joined us?
Yeah, so I'm Kagan Dunlap. Like Austin was saying, I'm in a different position than he is, but he and I are very similar in a lot of ways. We have a similar story. And one of the things they brought me up, or they asked if I wanted to come up here and do this because there's some personal stories and experiences that I've had that have impacted my life that have to do with some of the things that they wanted to talk about today. So I appreciate you guys affording me the opportunity to come here and be a part of something that's important like this, because this will ideally be able to hopefully impact some people's lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I really do think we've done 4 interviews so far, and I really do think that this is going to be incredibly impactful for our community. Can you tell me a little bit about your story? Because as I understand it, I mean, you've been sober for over a decade, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, when I was a kid, pretty much standard kid. I grew up in place. Well, I went to high school. Well, I guess we could probably go back even further than that. So I went to middle school in a place called New Bern, North Carolina, and was in a middle school there for 3 years. And I went to one year of high school in New Bern, and then I moved to Fayetteville, North Carolina, rough town. As anybody that spent any time in the Army knows that Fayetteville, North Carolina, is kind of a rough spot. And I went through the rest of high school there. And like a lot of my experiences there revolved around, partying and like hanging out with people late nights type stuff, and mostly just partying in every aspect you can imagine. Obviously, like everybody understands what that means. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that I moved around a lot. Like what service members experience, move around a lot. It's hard for you to set down roots. I had a hard time making friends when I was younger. I wasn't very outgoing. I didn't really have a great ability to communicate with people because I was a pretty introspective person. Although I cared about people, and I definitely, I wanted to be able to connect with people, but everybody always seemed to have their already set group of friends, and you're always the new guy. And so you enter, it's like when you PCS and you get to a new unit and everybody already knows each other there, but nobody knows you. And so they have to you have to kind of really put yourself out there. You got to be extra, type A personality, and you have to take the initiative to approach people, because oftentimes, if people don't know you, they're not going to take the initiative to come talk to you, which is why you're apprehensive to do that, because you don't. It's not like something that's built into you to go put yourself in an uncomfortable situation.
Right.
And
especially as a kid.
Yeah, exactly. So, that was kind of what got me through that hump of trying to make friends and meet people and stuff, was going to parties, hanging out and stuff like that. Because everybody was, when you're that age, people party and that's what they do. And so I did that all through. Most of the interesting is I kind of did things in reverse. Most people grow up and they play sports, or they do this, that, and the other thing, and they're active, or their parents were very disciplined, or if you grew up in a military family, your parents are we're gonna take you out back to the woodshed if you don't stay very organized and disciplined and get A's for everything. You know what I mean? My parents kind of allowed me to go make my own mistakes, which was good, because I would have just rebelled if they didn't let me do that. And then so pretty much went through all high school up till like 2006, 2007 after high school. I graduated high school in 2005 and then spent a couple more years trying to figure out who I was before I like decided that I was like, I need to find some different approaches to life that work better for me, that enable me to pursue things I'm interested in. Because, when I was in that, I guess, mindset, if you want to call it mindset, lifestyle choices, it was hard for me to really like learn who I was.
Sure.
Because it kind of stops your brain development, even though your brain doesn't really finish fully developing until you're about 25 years old as an adult anyway. But that definitely hinders your ability to grow as a person 100%. And to like learn who you are if you're, always, I guess if you want to call it medicated, or if you're always like using something of some kind,
sure.
So that I was very fortunate. 2007, 2008 was like the real cut. And I remember it was 2008 because that was the year that Obama got elected. So that's been like kind of a like internal reminder for me to like remember like what the timeline was, but not that the two really had anything to do with each other.
Obama.
Yeah, thanks Obama. But that was that happened to be the time. And it's funny enough, I turned 21 that year. And that was the year that I was
that you stopped?
Yeah, everything.
Yeah, wow.
Everything. I was like,
so
yeah,
when did you start drinking? Do you remember that? When that would have been?
Probably middle school. Not on a regular basis, but middle school was like my first really introduction to it.
Sure. And it was truly a social thing to try and make friends? Is what it sounds like?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was like my buddy's big brother and his friends were like all in high school, and I was in middle school with all of our little friends, and
they had the hookup.
And we're playing Magic the Gathering and Risk and Axis and Allies and stuff like that, and like all these board games together, and we're like getting together and throwing the football around. And then sometimes we'd hang out with his older brother and some of his friends, and like they were the cool kids.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
We wanted to be just like those cool kids.
Yeah.
I think that was my first like introduction to it. It's just kind of funny to think about, but it wasn't anything crazy. Like it wasn't like I got introduced to it and then the next thing I know I'm waking up in a pile of puke or anything like that. Like It was just like, I think peach schnapps was like my first introduction to alcohol, which is kind of like lame, when you think about it. It's
you should for sure tell people it was like cheap, crappy beer or something.
You should for sure tell people
you
it was
are
old
losing
English.
Street cred after this episode drops.
I know. Yeah, you're gonna lose all street cred.
I had a massive problem with peach schnapps.
You mean to tell me you didn't start drinking Colt 45s with 2 zigzags?
Fucking Mad Dogs.
Although later on down the road, I definitely enjoyed a what is it called? A Mad Dog 2020 or two, and then an Old English and a King Cobra and Colt 45 and all these other, I forget all the other names of the 40s. I think it was funny because Joe Rogan had a guy on the other day. I think it was Joe Rogan, where they're talking about like 40s and how they like. He's like, malt liquor is completely different from beer.
Oh yeah,
like
it really is.
Like
it's a whole other class.
It's a whole other thing, and it's like guys would like tape them to their hands and stuff like that, and play the Edward 40 hands game. It's like it's so stupid, but like everybody did that when they're younger now because you're like, you're just making dumb decisions because it's funny at the time and all that. But I think the big thing for me is like, I never really felt any level of happiness prior to that because I was always like out there trying to find.
Community, it sounds
community, like. Community was a big one for sure. Trying to find community, trying to like make friends with people, trying to get comfortable getting outside of my own skin, trying to find a way to be comfortable in my own skin. Trying to, because obviously like alcohol does a lot to, it loosens your inhibitions. It makes you more comfortable talking to people if you're not used to it, like naturally, if you didn't build up that tolerance or that resistance to fear and anxiety naturally just from doing it over and over again, which is like the normal way to do it. Makes people feel comfortable doing all kinds of stuff like dancing when they wouldn't normally dance.
For sure.
Talking to the girl on the whatever, talking to the girl in the supermarket that you ran into that you wouldn't have normally gone up to talk to, like talking to the guy that you maybe weren't comfortable talking to before, you know. I mean, it could go for guys and girls. Obviously, it's the same thing. It's just human beings. Like you're more comfortable doing things and putting yourself in a precarious position when you're, you know, oftentimes after you've had a drink or two. Then
and so you felt like alcohol allowed you to mesh with people in a way that you couldn't prior.
Yeah, I think so. It
like,
helped.
I mean, obviously, you know, drinking can be a communal thing, like a community thing.
Yeah.
But also, you know, it sounds like you had some apprehension about approaching people. You know, alcohol would have lowered those apprehensions.
Yeah, I think at the time when I was a kid, I just was loaded with anxiety and and everybody, like, I don't know what it was. It's like,
you know why?
Well, just moving around a lot, wanting to, like, I was never good at making friends with people. Yeah, the constant change definitely had an impact for sure. You know, having to like make new friends everywhere when I knew that people already had their set friend groups every time we moved to a new location. So that was tough. You know, I was from a different culture because I was from Maine originally, and that's a very different culture than North Carolina.
Sure.
And I had one set of beliefs and feelings about the world and one perspective on the world. And a lot of folks that were in North Carolina had a completely different perspective. Now, that doesn't mean that I wasn't able to make friends. I made plenty of friends, and I'm still friends with some folks today that I met when I first moved down to North Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Got two or three good friends that I met when I first got down. You know, just the moving around whole thing is like, you know, because like we're social creatures, and like I think that socializing and like communicating with people is super important. And when you move to a new area and you don't have any friends to hang out with, and it's like you need to meet friends. Well, the only way you're going to do that is when you're in school, usually, right? But school is like one of those places where it's a weird situation because everybody's got their cliques and their friend groups and all that stuff, and like, you know, nobody's comfortable inside their own skin yet, or they're pretending to be one thing when they're not because their parents told them to like do things or to like, you know, go to do these sports. And so like they've naturally made friends because they were forced to do these uncomfortable things that they wouldn't have probably elected to do otherwise, you know? And then plus there's a lot of people that grew up there for 16, 17 years because their parents had lived there the entire time. So they went through all of elementary school, middle school, and high school with the same crowd of people. So they are very well connected. They know everybody. Everybody knows them. And that's a very different position to be in than like, hey, I've never met any of these people in this entire city. I don't know anybody here. And you got to like kind of meet people. So you're constantly being forced to get outside of your comfort zone. And when you're younger, it's like a little tougher to do that.
Sure.
I do think that it's ultimately made me more resilient as an adult. And I now have I don't care who people are now. I'll talk to you.
Sure.
Like, I don't have any apprehension to talk to strangers now, you know, or to make friends with people. Like, in fact, I enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
Like, one of the things that I do now is like, I'm trying to like get to know everybody in my local gym that I go to because I want to just know who's there. I want to know people on a first name basis. And so I just introduce myself, and I'm like trying to remember their name because I'm terrible with names. I'm much better with faces, but I still try to introduce myself and like just at least be able to say, hey, what's going on, Dean or Brent or Brad or Lisa or Kelly or whatever their name is, you know? And it's like, hey, how's it going? You know, like, and just develop that kind of relationship because I like talking to people. I've always enjoyed talking to people. I just wasn't comfortable as much doing it when I was younger because, you know, maybe some of the past experiences I had. And I just also I was exposed to, you know, there's good people and bad people everywhere, right? You get exposed to bad people, and then it puts a bad taste in your mouth, and then you're more apprehensive to want to do that kind of stuff. And a lot of this stuff may seem trivial and like first world problems type stuff, which a lot of it really is, you know, because there's people out there that are like fighting every day just to have food and water, and maybe they don't have electricity or even clean water to drink and stuff like that. So like those problems are much more significant than the ones I face, but this is just my personal experience.
Sure.
And,
well, as a kid, like that's what you went through. That was the worst thing that you had ever been through up to that point.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing Joe Rogan says.
Social isolation.
Yeah. That's another thing that has been discussed on Joe's podcast is like the worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you. It doesn't matter what that is.
It might seem trivial when we talk about the problems of children.
Yeah.
But so you said your parents kind of had a hands-off approach, it sounds like.
To a certain degree, they still required like certain levels of discipline. Like you need to be home at a certain time.
Sure.
You need to let us know where you're going and when you're going there, especially up till a certain age.
Yeah.
Once I was in high school, they kind of just let me go do whatever I was.
And I mean,
do.
so it sounds like from the time you were in middle school and then that's when drinking started, and then you turned 21, and that's when drinking stopped. But up to that point, like it was a downward descent, a spiral, whatever you want to call it. I mean, do you feel like your parents' maybe hands-off approach contributed to that problem?
No. I think that if they had been more hands-on, I would have been more rebellious.
Maybe it would have been worse.
It probably would have been worse.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure. Because I was always like a rebellious kid. Like I don't like being told what to do, which is kind of ironic considering my profession. But
it's shocking how many of us are like contrarians.
Yeah, I like being my own boss. I like doing my own thing. And now because it's weird, as an adult, I have an immense amount of discipline compared to what I had when I was a kid, and like I'm very able to be very focused on things, and I'm fairly organized in my personal life for the most part. When I was a kid, it definitely wasn't the same. I was not disciplined. All I liked to do back when I was a kid was just kind of play video games and like hang out with friends and socialize and
drink peach schnapps.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly. I think I might have only had that one time, and that was the. I think that was the.
That was the intro.
That was the intro, and then I never drank peach schnapps again after that. I don't think. I think it was just like that's what they happen to have at the time.
And at what point, like? So you started drinking, and then at what point did you identify, like, oh, this might be an issue? Something's off here.
Well, I would say that involvement with law enforcement was probably like a good wake-up call for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really want to go into too much detail about that. It's all documented and stuff like that, you know, because obviously it has to be, but... yeah, it was kind of like a wake-up call for me, like just because, I'd put myself in a position to experience things that were forced upon me instead of me making the decision on my own. And honestly, like that was like a saving grace for me. Maybe that was God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself at the time, because like oftentimes, like, I needed to, throughout my life, I've needed to experience certain levels of pain before I was willing to make a decision to change whatever lifestyle choice I was making at the time. Whether that be like right now, my one problem is I'm not sleeping enough. And I mean, I think maybe I need to feel enough pain where I stop doing that. I don't know what it is. I hope not. I really got to start working on that. But, like a lot of these lifestyle choices that I was making and decisions that I was making they weren't making me happy or satisfied with life or content, or I wasn't at a place where I was like, life was rolling on an even keel for me.
Sure.
It was like this constantly.
Yeah.
Right. It
Real
was like
high
up
highs,
and down
real
highs,
low lows.
real high highs, real low lows. And it's just like a super unmanageable lifestyle. I don't know how I graduated high school. I really don't.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know how I graduated. I managed to get like A's, B's, and C's somehow, miraculously. Maybe that's just because I am like inherently capable of retaining information at the time, or I was able to learn, and like I was a decent enough student that I was able to like perform well. But I still I can't remember a lot of the things that I did in high school. Like people used to bring up stuff. It's obviously been like 20 years since I graduated high school, so it's a lot's happened since then, which is like dating myself a lot. But, there's a lot of things that experiences I had in high school that I don't remember at all.
Really?
Like parties I went to, don't remember. People I hung out with and met, don't remember. And I mean, occasionally there was a time where I kind of like, people would bring stuff up to me that they would tell me like happened, and I'd be like, I don't remember any of that. Now it's been so long since I've lived there, I hardly talk to anybody that I knew there in Fayetteville, because it's just been such a long time. We all gone different directions. Life happens. You move on. You do stuff. Like I'm too busy now to even like really do a lot. But honestly, the funny thing is, and I've told people this on live stream before when I'm doing like lives. Oftentimes, the only time I get any human interpersonal interaction is like either at work or when I'm like going to do things like this or traveling around. Because like other than that, I spend the majority of my time at the gym, which I do get a little bit of social exposure there, or I spend it working at in my home office, so like, and that's kind of a tangent. I don't know. I'm not quite sure where I was going with that. I've kind of lost track of what I was thinking of.
Well, no, I totally understand. Like this space can be fairly lonely, at times. Like
sometimes it can be. Yeah,
we have a generally a lot of us have a small circle of people that we trust.
Yeah, it's gotten smaller too.
Yeah, and we struggle to have a social life, because of the amount that we work and stuff like that.
Loneliness is a really important one too, because that was something I felt a lot when I was a kid, and I couldn't think of it before, but you said the word and it reminded me. I remember significant levels of loneliness as a kid. Yeah, because I didn't know anybody and nobody knew me, and I was like uncomfortable to talk to these people because they already had their set friend groups, and I was like, well, I don't want to like cause problems or piss these people off, or like I don't want to like rock the boat. Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people that feel like that too, because I mean, at the end of the day, like alcohol is a depressant. Like it doesn't make you happy. It does like loosen your inhibitions, and maybe there's certain events that can transpire while you're doing it. But a lot of people have quit drinking recently. Even Joe Rogan's quit drinking, which goes to show you that it's becoming a more popular thing. Like, I'm not saying abstinence is good for everybody, or maybe that's not what everybody wants. I mean, there's plenty of people out there that can drink responsibly and like enjoy their life, and it doesn't interfere with it, whatever. I just personally found that not drinking for me has enabled me to kind of like truly discover who I am as a person, learn who I am, become comfortable with who I am, and accept who I am for me.
Was it an issue of you didn't like how you felt when you drank? You didn't like the person you became? You didn't like the behaviors you demonstrated? Like, what is the thing that made you not like enjoy drinking anymore, or realize like, oh, I got to cut this off?
I would say pretty much everything.
Really?
Like, yeah. I mean, a lot of the time the drinking, it was just like a symptom of everything else that I was actually dealing with, which was the loneliness, the uncomfortability in my own skin, the, apprehensiveness to want to talk to people, anxiety, depression, all that stuff. And the drinking was just like a symptom of those afflictions, if that makes sense.
100%.
Right? And none of that stuff is permanent. Like, I don't have any diagnoses. I don't take any medication for anything.
I do.
Yeah, heavily medicated.
Not heavily.
The only one thing that I do still consume is I consume copious amounts of caffeine and nicotine still, which is a pretty standard thing for our line of work. I don't know why that is. And maybe that's why we all have heart attacks as soon as we retire.
I mean, it's like the need to perform, I think, because caffeine and nicotine keep you awake and keep you, aware and honed in, locked in, whatever you want to call it, even when you haven't slept a whole lot, because like not sleeping and drinking a lot is like the military MO. Like, we peacock like the two worst things that you can do. Like culturally, like people will brag about like, I didn't get any sleep last night, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the older I get, the more like sad that I am when I make that statement. It used to be like, I only slept 2 hours last night, and look how good I'm doing. I'm doing great.
Now I brag to people when I take naps. I'm very, very proud of myself.
Yeah.
I'm like a small child, like a gold star after I take a successful nap.
Yeah, like now it's like, yeah, hey, I got 2 extra hours of sleep last night.
I woke up without bags under my eyes.
How cool is that? Yeah.
So it was a combination of everything, a combination of behaviors. You didn't like the person you turned into, because you're very, very kind, very even keel, very and so, but I can imagine, as with, how mine was, I mean, there were things like, I feel like 90% of the most embarrassing moments in my life all have to do with alcohol.
Mine, I can't say the same.
Really?
Yeah, I think that some of the things that I've been most
you embarrass
about,
yourself sober?
Yes. Oh, 100%. I embarrass myself all the time, but that's part of life.
Yeah.
You're gonna get embarrassed sometimes. You're gonna do dumb stuff sometimes, and that's part of just like accepting like, your fallibility as a human being.
Right.
Part of some of the things that like not like just like living a sober life has like helped me with is just like becoming comfortable in my own skin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the things that cause me the greatest anxiety and stress nowadays don't have to do with like me being uncomfortable. They have to do with being concerned about other individuals that have it out for me.
Yeah.
That has become the largest source of anxiety for me, out of everything, because I'm comfortable in my own skin. I don't mind talking about anything that I've done or not done, because I keep my nose clean. I stay out of trouble.
Yeah.
I don't do anything illegal, immoral, or unethical, period. You know, and like I'm able to look at myself in the mirror every night and be like, make that accurate self-appraisal.
Sure.
You know, which is one of the hardest things for people to do, because it's really hard for people to tell the truth to themselves.
Yeah.
Because you can lie to yourself. Like, it's really easy to lie to yourself, you know, and believe your own BS. Because like, you're not going to check yourself, right? You're not going to like be that sanity check, you know. And it helps talking to other people too. But the real trick to I guess leading any type of level of successful life is being capable of making an accurate self-appraisal, like knowing if you're not doing well enough in a certain area, knowing if you need to improve in certain areas, knowing like, hey, maybe you could have done better with that. Maybe you could have done this differently or improve on that. And like being able to be brutally honest with yourself is something that I've slowly been able to do.
Yeah.
That doesn't have anything to do with like people trying to hold me accountable outside of this, like, because that's a whole nother like rabbit hole.
Sure.
Because like, especially when it comes to like online culture and stuff like that, that's like a rabbit hole that you could go down, and a lot of that stuff is fake and nonsense anyway. But like, as far as like real, tangible results, if you are able to look at yourself in the mirror and accurately say to yourself and know, what are you doing right now? What are you doing wrong right now? And what are some things that you can do to improve? Like, that is the real key to a lot of things in life. And that's very hard to do, because most people don't want to like see themselves for what they really are, you know? I try to do a pretty good job. There's things I can improve upon, sure. Like, I'm not perfect by any means. I'm not even close. Never will be, never have been. You know, and I try to be as brutally honest with myself about things that I'm doing well, things I can improve upon. But like, if you're constantly drinking on a regular basis, like, it's very hard for you to be able to do that.
Yeah, you can't really do an accurate self-assessment.
No, you can't take an accurate self-assessment or a self-appraisal if you're constantly numbing yourself out every day, because like, you're avoiding it. You don't want to see those things. You don't want to look at yourself in the mirror and see that there's flaws.
Yeah.
But that's also part of life. You're gonna be flawed, and accepting those as well, becoming comfortable in your own skin, that's also a huge step, which a lot of people have a hard time doing, because, you know, they're constantly worried about what other people think about them. They're constantly worried about, like, how am I being perceived?
Yeah.
How are these people interpreting this behavior that I'm doing? Or like, oh man, I wish I hadn't said that. They probably think I'm an idiot, or they probably think I am like a terrible leader, or they probably think this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
And then you compound that with like seeing things on social media, especially if you have a public if you're a public presence, and there's like a million people talking about you, whether positive or negative, and you can't take those opinions, because a lot of those people don't know who you are,
Right.
You know, but you know who you are, and you are capable of looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, here's some things that I'm doing right, here's some things I'm doing wrong. But part of that is like, you can't be 6 beers deep and then like try to do that, because you're not going to be able to accurately assess what's going on with you.
Right.
You know, there's no way you can do that.
Out of curiosity, because I think you joined in 2012.
So I signed my delayed entry program contract in 2013.
2013. Okay.
Yeah.
So you chose to stop drinking while you were in.
No, I quit before.
Oh, you quit before?
Yeah, I quit in 2008.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 2008. Yeah, because I mean, by the time I actually joined, when I first enlisted, I think I had already been sober for 6 years.
So what was that like joining an organization where alcohol is so prevalent?
I know.
And you're like, I'm not
Guess what
gonna
I
drink.
was? I was Daddy Dunlap. Yeah. Yeah. I picked up so many of my friends from Waikiki when they were absolutely like puking on their shoes drunk.
Yeah.
And I had no problem doing that.
Yeah.
I was happy to help to make sure they got back to the barracks safely.
Sure.
Because that's what you do as a friend. That's what you do as like a leader, even if they're your peers.
Yeah.
You take care of your friends. You take care of your people. And I, like there were times like I had a really good friend, and I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to embarrass him in case he listens to this or anybody else listens. I had a buddy of mine who was in one of the platoons in the weapons company with me in 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines. And there was one night he went out to Waikiki. I was in the barracks up in Marine Corps Base, Hawaii, Kaneohe Bay, right? Which is like the northeastern side of the island. He was down in Waikiki, and he and I were really good friends. We hung out all the time. We would go out to the clubs. I still went out to clubs all the time when I got, like, after being sober. I was just, like, comfortable dancing and talking to people. Mm-hmm. Still doing the same thing, but I was just, like, sober and having a good time meeting people and talking to people and stuff. But anyway, he met this girl at this bar, went back to her place, and this is kind of a side story. He calls me at like 2 o'clock in the morning. He's like, dude, you got to come get me. I can't be here anymore. I have to leave. Mm. The reason behind it was something I'll have to tell you off air because it's not really appropriate. But bottom line, he's like, I need to get out of here right now. Just understand this is an emergency situation. Can you come pick me up?
Yeah.
And I picked him up at 2 o'clock in the morning from Chinatown in near
no.
Waikiki. And I was like, dude, where are you? I'll come get you. And I went and picked him up. There's lots of other times too where I pick people up from like downtown just because that's what you do. You take care of your boys. Was
there ever pressure? Like, did people ever try and apply pressure to get you to drink?
I didn't really ever feel that. No.
Really?
No, I'm sure that everybody's different. The only people I've ever
like it happened, but it didn't really impact you.
Yeah, I was just like, nah, I'm good, man. There's plenty of times where people like asked me to or offered to, or there's never any like real pressure though. Like, because I'm like at that point I was already like my convictions were already cemented in stone, and there was nothing anybody was gonna do to like have an impact on that one way or another.
Yeah.
And like at the Marine Corps Ball, for example, like everybody gets hammered a lot of times at the Marine Corps Ball. So that took a certain level of finesse, right? I've learned that one of the things that helps make other people comfortable because a lot of people that drink on a regular basis, they are kind of judgy of people that don't drink because they're like, that's weird. Or it makes them uncomfortable because then they look at themselves and they're like, do I have something that's wrong with me?
Right.
And they don't like that. They don't want to look at themselves and have to take a look at their own behaviors. And so they see that and it makes them uncomfortable. So the way to get outside of that is to just carry a drink around.
Oh,
with some ice in it.
That's interesting.
That's one of the things I would do every time I would go to the bars too, is I would carry a seltzer water with a lime in it. With ice.
No kidding.
Nobody would know the difference. They would think I probably had like a vodka tonic or something.
You found a way to go undercover.
Yeah. Well, it's not really undercover. It's just like I wanted people to be comfortable to talk to me like anyone else because I don't care if people drink or not.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me. Like, I've got lots of friends who drink. I really don't care. It doesn't matter. As long as you're a good person, you're like a good human being. Like I don't care. As long as you're not lying, cheating, or stealing, or like hurting people, like. Go for it, man. There's a million people who drink on this planet. No issue with it at all. Just not for me, right? But anyway, so that was like a way for me to kind of like be able to hang out in environments that are typically known for consumption of alcohol and be able to talk to people because I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy socializing. I'd like to get out there and communicate with people, meet people from different places. And like I said, as I've gotten older and the longer I've done this for, the more I have learned to enjoy talking to people and meeting people from different walks of life, from different backgrounds, different religions, different ethnicities, different home lives, different levels of financial income, different perspectives. Like, don't care. Like, I enjoy talking to people from every walk of life, because it's interesting.
Yeah.
You know, that's like one of the things that makes being a living human being interesting is the fact that everybody's different and they all have a different story. And I think storytelling is a really big part of our community specifically.
Yeah, for sure.
It has been since back during the Roman Legion, you know, and before, you know, people telling war stories or people just telling stories about, you know, hey, I went out on the lake and I caught this huge fish, but here's all the crazy stuff leading up to that happened, right? You know, and I really enjoy storytelling, which is why things like this I think are so valuable, you know? But yeah, so that was like one of the ways I would kind of get around that. I would have some kind of a beverage, a cup of something, like whatever, usually like a cup with ice in it and a lime, because you drop a lime in there, people automatically assume there's you know, there's alcohol in it, but there doesn't have to be. And like, dude, I don't want to make other people uncomfortable. Like, I'm not interested in doing that. Like, if I can make them more comfortable and then continue to, you know, have civil conversation and discourse and be able to talk to people, I'm going to do that.
It's interesting to me that you're like, I don't want to make people feel uncomfortable, so I'm just going to like kind of allow them to think I'm drinking, when it's like drunk people are usually the ones making people uncomfortable. Like, but you're the one concerned with people's comfort as somebody who doesn't drink. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, dude, I'm not trying to, like, I don't want my presence there to make anyone's night not fun or not enjoyable or stressful or angry. Like, I'm not there for them to like be worried if they're messed up or something, you know, like, if I'm in that position, obviously I'm going to be more capable than most of the people in that position to react to a situation. Like, if somebody needs a ride home, or if like there's something happening that's like an emergency situation, I can react because I have all my facilities and my faculties. I have my wits about me. I'm capable of reacting quicker than everybody else that's been consuming something. And then also just because I liked spending time with my friends out and meeting people again, like it goes back to that. But yeah, it's been a very weird thing. I don't really do that much anymore now because I'm married and I'm like, I'm like almost 40, so I don't
probably
go
don't
out.
Find yourself in the situation that much anymore.
No,
you know?
All I do is work all the time now too. So it's or work out. Like, that's the two things that I do: is I work out and I work.
Yeah,
and I sleep. Well, I really don't sleep. That's my biggest problem, is I need to sleep more. But it's changed a lot.
Yeah, well, it's interesting to me too that you're walking around with this like mocktail or whatever you want to call it. This thing that you want to make it so people aren't trying to be like, hey, why are you not drinking? It's interesting to me.
I don't even want to have that conversation.
Right. Yeah. But it's interesting to me that, you know, I think the culture of the military facilitates that, like the culture of the military specifically surrounding alcohol.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're having to do something to placate the people that do drink, so that because you don't want to drink.
There's been times, real quick side story. I was at a Marine Corps ball one time.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, we're all going to do a shot. Everybody's going to do a shot. So I grabbed a shot glass and filled it with water and cheers up, toasted with everybody. Because that way they knew I was still part of it. And I was like, I gave a crap that they wanted to toast and that they wanted to do that.
And it's a perfect segue into that. Like, because why is that necessary? Like, why is alcohol so pervasive in military culture, and why is the pressure to drink so great? You know, can you speak to that at all? Like, what was the culture surrounding alcohol in the Marine Corps?
Well, the Marine Corps was born in a bar. That's the reason why. It was literally born in Tun Tavern in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia. Which, hopefully, by the way, if you're able to help, I think there's a fundraiser going on to like help rebuild the Tun Tavern.
No kidding.
In Philly, like an actual location, which I am all about it.
Wow.
Like, that's the birthplace of the Marine Corps with Captain Samuel Nicholas. But yeah, I mean, so like, yeah, the Marine Corps is born in a bar. So yeah, alcohol is a very big part of our culture, and that's fine. History's important. I have no problem with that. I don't think we should ever erase history at all. I think that's destructive. Do you feel like that
culture around alcohol is like healthy? I mean, I personally, what I've seen in the Army, I don't think that we have a good healthy relationship culturally with alcohol.
I think that the branch as a brand has a healthy relationship.
Really?
I think that the branch at the individual level may not. But that's not that's
so you don't
not
think
because
the Marine
branch.
Corps is like telling people you should drink a lot? It's those individual people in the Marine Corps all encouraging each other?
It's more like a cultural thing rather than like an organizational thing. Because
I would agree with that. I would agree with that with I think every branch, honestly.
yeah, because the organization promotes celebrating the special occasions that you have with each other
In a responsible way.
In a responsible way. And one of those ways are you know what a mess night is?
Yeah.
So we have mess nights that were established a ways back as like just a ceremonial night for pomp and circumstance and stuff like that, to bring people together and build camaraderie and esprit de corps, and that's important.
Yeah, we call them dining ins or dining outs, depending on the location and the uniform.
Army version.
Yeah.
Same thing. But yeah, basically same idea, like brings people together. You know, you celebrate camaraderie, esprit de corps, history, culture, traditions, and that stuff's important because that's what creates your identity as a branch of service.
Sure.
And that's also one of the reasons why like we do have such strong ties whether we're in or we get out, you know, and that stuff's important. So the organization supports that and responsibly doing that.
Yeah.
Responsible execution of that. The organization also supports the fact that we were founded in a bar. It's part of our history, you know, and there's no reason to shy away from that or be afraid of that or think that there's anything wrong with that. There's, it just is. Yeah, it just is what it is. That's part of history. It's like there's no reason that the U.S. Army should be ashamed of the fact that Robert E. Lee was wasn't he a professor at West Point? Mm-hmm. He was the superintendent at West Point. There's no reason.
We have a West Pointer in the room. He's nearly insufferable. He just informed us that he was the superintendent, not a professor.
He's like fixing his glass. He's like,
I can hear he's knocking the ring right now.
But yeah, knocking his ring. Yeah. But yeah, so like, there's no reason the U.S. Army should be ashamed of the fact that Robert E. Lee was the superintendent of West Point.
Sure.
It's part of your history.
It just is.
It just is.
Everybody today can control it.
It is what it is. The same thing could be said about, alcohol and being born in a bar and like having these events that do, like the Marine Corps Ball, for example, always involves alcohol. There's always an open bar, all that. And that culturally, sure, that culture is encouraged to celebrate responsibly those situations. Now, the Marine Corps doesn't like encourage habitual drinking or binge drinking or any of that stuff. That's more like a localized cultural thing, probably, because I don't know. That's probably just a military thing in general.
Yeah.
Like military's always like we've always like partied hard and played hard. Played hard, party hard, in whatever order what you want to do it in. I think that I think drinking has probably been reduced a lot now that we're in kind of a peacetime scenario.
Sure.
I would say that the drinking levels were significantly higher in the earlier years of the GWAT.
Sure.
Like, from like 2001 to 2015.
Yeah.
But I would really say even to like 2012. So that like 12-year period, I would say that the drinking was very heavy. And part of that had to do with the fact that there was some severe trauma that people were feeling from their deployments overseas and stuff. But from what I've seen, a lot of the younger cats don't really drink as much. They're a little bit more, I would say they're a little bit more sober-minded. They do drink. A little bit more responsible with it. They communicate differently. They're different socially than like you and I
There's cultural differences every
Yeah.
time we get a new generation.
Yeah, that's a big thing I've noticed.
And now we're at the age where we can yell at them and tell them that they are the world's problems.
Yeah, and complain to them like old crotchety because that's what you turn into eventually the longer you stick around in this life. But
you live long enough to see yourself become old.
Yeah, and crotchety. And you like I remember when I was a kid, I used to think, man, old people are always so cranky and grouchy all the time. What is wrong with them? Now I understand. It's because they don't sleep enough and they're always working all the time. That's probably why. But yeah, I mean, again, I don't think I think that it's important to be able to have like unique culture to your branch and be able to celebrate being proud of the service that you are performing for the nation. And it's important to be able to celebrate the traditions and the history and the culture of your branch, because that's what makes you guys unique. And only like 1% of the entire population are even qualified to serve in the first place, let alone how many, like what percent of that 1% are even willing to raise their right hand, you know?
Right,
so like,
yeah.
if you want to celebrate, like, go for it. I think it's important to be able to be proud of where you came from and your culture and your heritage and the history of your organization. I do think that we have to be... I think culturally we can improve upon like being more open to talking to people about stuff.
Sure.
Communication's important. A lot of people are afraid to talk about things. You know, whether it's like you're afraid to go talk to your chaplain, you're afraid to talk to your chain of command, you're afraid to talk to your staff NCO or your team leader or your squad leader or whatever it is, you know, like you're afraid to talk to your peers about stuff because you're afraid you're going to be judged if you have problems. I think the military's done a really good job. I've had friends in my company that volunteered to go to like treatment when they had a problem. Yeah. Wow. I had guys in the Marine Corps that were binge drinking all the time, and they asked the chain of command if they could go to treatment, and the chain of command facilitated that and did not hold it against them.
No kidding.
Didn't hold it against them. They came right back after they were done, sober, and they went right back to training as if nothing happened and nobody cared.
Wow.
Now, that's going to be different from unit to unit.
Right, yeah.
Which is the problem. It's like going from one boss to another boss. You don't know if that new boss is going to be as cool as your old boss.
But it's cool that you witnessed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it always goes back to this is a people business.
Mm-hmm.
This organization is ran by human beings. And no one human being is going to do the same exact stuff as the previous one. They're all going to have their unique set of problems, their unique set of history, their unique background, their unique story, you know, and so they're going to have unique ways of confronting situations, their unique decision-making capabilities, and people are going to react and do things in a different way depending on what chain of command you're in. And that's the hard part. Because I know that the organizations as a whole want to have like a baseline that's, hey, this is why we do annual training, because we're all trying to get to the same baseline, because we know that not every part of the organization is going to teach it the same way. Well, okay, since you're not going to teach it the same way, we're going to give you a PowerPoint presentation so you're teaching the same exact thing no matter what unit you're in across the country or the globe. And that's the thing. Like it is what it is. Like, that's kind of just the nature of the beast when you're dealing with a people business.
Yeah.
And it is a business. It's just that it happens to be paid for by the taxpayers and it's not generating actual income. So that's like the difference. But yeah, I mean, we should foster a community of like, look, we're not going to penalize you if you seek help voluntarily.
Right.
The problem is if people get sent to rehab or they get sent to some treatment because they got a DUI or because they beat their spouse because they got drunk and did something stupid, like, yeah, you're going to get held accountable for that. It is what it is at that point. But if you're like, I can't do this anymore, I need help, and you go to your chain of command, if they don't help you, then they should probably get posted, as far as I'm concerned, because that's what we have an obligation to do, is take care of each other. You know, and
that's our first obligation.
Yes, our first obligation is to take care of each other. And at the end of the day, your chain of command should support you in trying to better yourself.
Yeah.
Because the better you are, the stronger your chain is.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're only as strong as the weakest link in your organization. And that there's always going to be one person that is anchoring down the team.
Yeah.
And how do you make the team better? Well, you make that person better.
Yeah.
How do you make that person better? Well, you help them and you support them, but they got to want it too.
Yeah.
And if they're not willing to make the decision to better themselves and they're not willing to take responsibility for their own life, there's only so much you can do as a chain of command too.
Right.
Because that's the other side of the coin. It's like, I've seen it from both sides, you know, like I've seen people that asked for help and they got the help they needed. They came back and they were a valuable part of the team again. I've also seen these folks that were not willing to do anything different, and they weren't willing to get help, and they weren't willing to change their behaviors, and they weren't willing to work with the chain of command to improve themselves. And then at the end of the day, you tie your chain of command's hands and they can't help you.
Right.
And then sometimes those people go back and they blame their chain of command.
Yeah.
As if it was their fault for not making the decision to help themselves. Because like at the end of the day, like they can lay out all of this stuff for you, but it's like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah.
That's literally what it is, you know? So I think this type of stuff is valuable because you can encourage people like, hey, look, we're not saying that you're all alcoholics, although some of you some of you might be, maybe, but not all of you are, you know, but you should feel comfortable getting help, or even if you just need to get sober.
Even if you don't feel like the label applies to you, you might still need a little help.
Yeah, sure. Even if you don't feel like you're like, hey, look, I'm an alcoholic, I need to stop forever. Like, even if that doesn't apply to you, but you're just like, maybe I just need to go ask for help from somewhere, you should feel encouraged to do so without feeling worried that you're gonna feel repercussions for that, or it's gonna be held against you.
Right.
It shouldn't be. Like, your chain of command should not hold that against you if you're trying to better yourself.
Sure.
Again, and if they do, like I said, they should be held accountable for that, because that is bad business.
Right.
And that's not going to encourage people to want to join, because if they see that, you know, people aren't taking care of their people, why would I want to be part of that organization?
Right.
So that is a cultural thing that has to get fixed. And there's examples of it happening both ways. I've seen it across tons of different chains of commands. I've seen chains of command that they did everything they can to help people and they did a good job. And I've seen some that are like, we're just going to step on everybody's private parts. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
We're just going to step on them.
You told me earlier that you had a low point. There was some involvement with law enforcement. Can you just speak to that time a little bit in whatever way you want to?
Yeah, I know we're kind of bouncing around a little bit, but so there was like a lot of times back then where I was just like I said, a lot of it had to do with loneliness, not happy with who I was, not comfortable in my own skin, not comfortable talking to people, hard time making friends. At the end of the day, like, one of the things, like, we're social creatures. Like, you need social interaction. You need to have social interaction in order to have a full, well-rounded, healthy life. Human beings grew up in small communities and evolved in small communities, in tribes, and everybody talked to each other and worked with each other, and like that communication. We are a tribal species.
Sure.
You know, I mean, you can see it on social media, for example, but we're a tribal species. You need to have like interpersonal relationships with people. You need to be able to like have this camaraderie and community and all that stuff. And I didn't feel like I had that, and so like partying enabled me to feel comfortable inserting myself into other people's communities and, you know, putting myself out there to, you know, try to build friendships and relationships with people that already had their set friend groups that they've been hanging out with for 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
You know, because being that new guy, it's tough. It's tough to make friendships and relationships with people that you've not known ever, and like nobody knows you or knows anything about you, and like I'm sure they had assumptions about you based on like how you carry yourself and like all that stuff, you know. And there are a lot of times where like we would just get super hammered, man, and like wake up the next morning. Like, dude, there was times I woke up in my buddy's car out in his driveway and I had like yacked all over myself the night before.
You didn't remember how you got there?
Like chunks of pizza all over me that I had pre-digested and shit. Yeah.
And you don't remember how you got there? Like, you just woke up in the car?
Just woke up in the car like, whoa.
Yeah.
What happened? You know, last thing you remember is just riding around and you start yakking.
Sure.
You know. Now, that was, how many years ago was that? That was probably 22 years ago. So, like, that experience for me, because of how long it's been, feels like an eternity ago. But there may be people right now that are experiencing that.
Right.
Right now. You know, which is kind of crazy to think about, you know. And all that was, and I was hanging out with people that didn't even really like me that much.
Really?
They weren't really even that nice to me. They definitely didn't care about who I was or anything happening in my life.
Right.
We just hung out and partied together, you know. A lot of those people are dead now, actually.
Really?
Yeah, funny enough, a lot of those people are dead now. A lot of the people I met in Fayetteville are dead. It's weird. Life is weird because, I mean, a lot of those people continued the same pattern of behaviors, and I left, and, you know, a couple years after I had left, I stopped everything. So it's like it changed my whole life. But while I was there, like, one of the big things, like I said, it was like I had moved there. I was lonely. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any friends. I was in a new place again. I had just spent 4 years in New Bern. I had finally started making a friend group, and I get ripped out, and I have to move somewhere else. Kind of like the military.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you just start to get to know how to do your job, and then they pull you out, and they give you PCS orders to Korea because that's where you're going next, or Okinawa, or wherever the hell you're going. And then you have a whole new group of people there that you don't know that have already got relationships developed with everybody there, and you want to make friends because you want people to hang out with, and you want to, like, you know, get into friend groups and spend time with people and find cool things to do. And I don't know if it's just maybe my younger brain was more worried about that stuff. Like, when you're in your teens, like, when they talk about teenage angst, that is a real thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I haven't felt like that in such a long time. I almost don't remember what it's like.
Right.
As far as, like, being anxious about making friends and being lonely and all that stuff. I haven't felt those feelings in such a long time. It's very removed from me because I'm so busy now.
Yeah.
I don't have time to think about that stuff.
Sure.
And maybe that's part of the reason why it doesn't, like, bother me. But at the time, that was the most difficult thing ever to, like, overcome.
Right.
You know, like, and I know there's a lot of guys out there probably living in the barracks. They get off work every night. They go back to their barracks room and they crack a beer because they don't have anyone to hang out with because they don't know anybody and they just moved there and they don't have any friends in the area and they're kind of worried to go make friends because they don't want to go talk to these other guys that they don't know if they like them or not. You know, and yeah, I know some of this stuff is, like, very sappy, emotional, like, ooh, soft,
Well, I mean,
spongy stuff, but hey, dude, at the end of the day, you're a human being and you have emotions and feelings like everybody else does.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. Part of being an adult and growing up is being comfortable in your own skin and accepting that you do have these feelings and that you do want to have friends and you do want to be able to, like, make friends to hang out with and go fishing with or go bowling with them or go to a movie with or go
Magic the Gathering.
Magic the Gathering, whatever, dude. Like, which that's another thing I started playing when I was
D&D.
when I was a kid.
I love a good D&D.
I played
session.
D&D. I haven't played since, like, 2006 or something like that, but I've played it before. Magic the Gathering was more of a consistent.
For sure.
Yeah. Oh, I'm all about it. We definitely play Magic the Gathering. I'm a big fan of that still. But anyway, a lot of those feelings and emotions. And it wasn't like I said, the drinking was unmanageable and the partying was unmanageable. But again, that was just a symptom of everything else. Because like at the end of the day, like, the reason I did those things was because I was uncomfortable in my own skin. I was shy. I was nervous to talk to people. I was worried that they weren't going to accept me into their friend group or that they were going to ostracize me or that they wouldn't want to hang out with me or that I wouldn't be cool enough to hang out with them. I was lonely. I didn't know anybody there. We're social creatures. I wanted to develop a social network. And then on top of that, like, you do things while you're partying where you embarrass the crap out of yourself. And then so the next night goes by or the next day shows up and it's like you're sober at that time and you're thinking about how embarrassing that was, and you're like, I don't want to think about that. I'm going to get messed up tonight too, so I don't have to think about that. And it's like a rinse and repeat cycle where you're constantly waking up the next day getting messed up so you don't have to think about the previous day, you know? And or you're ashamed, or you do things that you're ashamed of when you're messed up. And like, it's hard for me to recall any of the things that I might have been ashamed of. I was ashamed of yakking all over myself a few times, which I for sure did, like more than once. Like there was another time I think I like got super drunk and like puked all over my shoes while sitting on somebody's steps because I just sat there and yacked all over my shoes. Like
I have puked more times than I can count. Like because that's like I was a binge drinker for sure.
Yeah,
you know, like
I for sure did too.
It was either I was not drinking, or I was drinking until I could not remember what planet I was on.
Out,
yeah, and I mean to the point where it's like I've talked to like I've got a bunch of buddies now that are like paramedics and like EMTs and stuff.
Yeah.
And like I've told them and they're like, bro, you were like throwing up stomach bile. Like you were like, how are you still alive?
Yeah.
'Cause that happened dozens of times.
Yeah.
You know, I'd wake up and I'd feel like grit in the vomit. And like
how birds eat rocks to help them digest.
Basically, yeah. And so, yeah, it's insane. And then I look back on it now and I'm like, holy cow, how did I let it get so bad?
Yeah.
But, you know,
Why did you drink?
It's that descent. Oh gosh, for a lot of reasons. I mean, mostly to cope with stress, you know, cope with stress from lots of different things, you know, and to handle emotions that I did not know how to handle as a young man.
Yeah.
You know, because I was like 19, 20 when I started drinking.
Oh, okay.
But I'd like to remind you, this is my podcast, and I'm interviewing you.
Oh, okay. I can't ask you these questions?
No, you can't. No, I'm kidding. You absolutely can.
Hey, I like just asking questions, so it's like, I don't know.
No, for sure. I mean, cope with emotions, stuff like that. But yeah, so you had kind of a slow descent. You stopped drinking. Do you feel like you would have the same level of, because you've had a lot of success in two different domains, the military and maybe we call it content creation, maybe call it at least entertainment industry adjacent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've had a lot of success in two very distinct industries. Do you feel like you would have been as successful if your drinking had continued?
No. Not even
close. That was
close.
Definitive. That was quick.
No, at all. I probably would never have gotten into the military in the first place if I had continued.
Really?
No. It was totally unmanageable. My life was unmanageable. And
because of the drinking,
because of all of it, the partying, drinking, the lifestyle, the routine. I wasn't working out at the time. I didn't take care of my body. I didn't I didn't have any perception of like death or reality or any of that stuff. I was just like constantly in this state of I am upset. Life is hard. Poor me. You know, this is going to help me feel better. This is going to help me feel better, in whatever capacity, whether it be this is going to make me more confident. This is going to make me relax because I'm stressed. This is going to help me not feel lonely. This is going to relieve my stress and anxiety. This is going to help me keep me from feeling depressed. This is going to help me build relationships with people. And so that's another reason I was doing it. When in all reality, like, I just needed to, like, and I didn't really have any hobbies. I played video games, and I hung out with my friends, and we played Magic the Gathering and board games and stuff like that.
Sure.
But, like, my brain wasn't fully developed. I didn't really know who I was yet. Like, I didn't definitively learn who I was until, like, my late 20s.
Okay.
Like, really late 20s.
Right.
It took a while. But I was fortunate that I, like, got sober earlier on because I was able to continue with the rest of my remaining brain development years with a clear head so that I could actually have that time to focus on figuring out who the hell I am.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of that stuff you cover up when you're just self-medicating all the time. You don't really get to know who you are because you're not spending any time looking at yourself because you're trying to spend all of your time not looking at yourself because you don't want to see what you are.
You don't want to face what you've become, the things you've done, the things you've said. Like, and then there's a shame cycle associated with it.
Yep.
Which keeps you drinking.
Yeah.
Right? Or keeps you, hooked on whatever you're hooked on.
Keeps you repeating the same cycle because you keep doing the same thing the next day in the hopes that you can forget the previous day.
Yeah. Was there shame associated, like when you woke up and you had yacked on yourself in your buddy's car, which I have also done?
That was very...
But when you woke up and you had yacked on yourself in your buddy's car, like, was there shame associated with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember... That was embarrassing, dude.
Right.
Like... No, I haven't seen that person in, like I said, over 20 years. But, dude, that was embarrassing. Like, waking up in your own puke. Your clothes are covered in it. It smells horrible. There's, like, chunks of old chewed-up pizza all over you. Like, yeah, embarrassing, dude. Straight up embarrassing.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure that, you could say the same thing about, any guys that or people that fall asleep next to their toilet after yakking all over the toilet and their bathroom floor. Like, that's embarrassing. Even if nobody was there to see it, that is an embarrassing thing to experience. Demoralizing. And then a lot of people wake up and they're like, oh, God, I'm never going to drink again. And, I'll do anything to not feel this crappy. And then you go do the same thing. A lot of people do that. They live that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, where they, are begging God to relieve them of this obsession and relieve them of of these awful feelings. If for nothing else, I'm not saying that anyone out there that's listening to this is an alcoholic and they can't drink ever. Only you can know that, dude. But what I am saying is that not drinking does make you feel physically healthier.
Yeah.
And makes you feel better. And you get better sleep and better quality sleep, and it
will make you physically healthier. Do you it's literally less calories?
Yeah, and there's tons of calories from it. Apparently, there's negative impact on testosterone, so it's bad for gains. There's been all kinds of research, which is why a lot of these bodybuilders don't drink. I definitely attribute my what's the word? So as you get older, your body starts to deteriorate and fall apart. But the one way you're able to slow that process down is from working out.
Right, yeah.
And if I had continued drinking and all this other stuff, then I would have never really gotten into fitness or working out. And that's enabled me to spend a lot more time PTing. That's what I've changed my whole life to since I was 21. I quit everything and then started working out every day.
Yeah.
That is my therapy, and that is my drug and, whatever you want to call it, of choice now. That is my medication.
Sure.
PT. I work out. I was working out, overtraining for a while because, it makes me feel good because the endorphins and everything else that gets released when you work out. But also, it's nice to feel it's nice to look better. It's nice
to feel something.
It's nice to feel something. It's nice to feel anything, yeah. But yeah, basically, that's replaced everything for me. It's just PT, working out, because that keeps me on an even keel. I don't have to feel like this all the time emotionally anymore. Yeah. That's really the nicest thing about it. Sure, it's nice to feel really high when you feel high,
right.
But
the lows
suck. And a lot of the times people take their life at that low point because they feel like there's no way to return from that. And part of getting away from constantly going down and bottoming out is to not go so hard or to just cut it out completely.
Right.
And I don't need to be up here.
Yeah.
I'm fine with staying right here.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
You are for sure one of the most even keel people I've ever met. Even when it's funny, it's kind of you have this baseline, and then when you call me and you're sad about something, it's kind of you're just right below baseline, and then if you're mad about something, you're just right above baseline.
Yeah.
But you're always right in this, just I don't know. It's got to be nice, and
yes,
it sounds like there's no way that you would be able to maintain this emotional, basically homeostasis if you had continued drinking.
No. Not even close, because it's a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
It always was a roller coaster. It's I'm getting messed up. Oh, cool. I feel good. Oh, now I feel like crap because I'm bottoming out, or like I did something stupid, or I'm embarrassed about something I did, or I feel like crap because I drank too much, or whatever it is. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, like I like feeling level. I like feeling even keeled and level. And I'm in control of that. I'm kind of a control freak on myself.
Sure.
I don't impose my own control on other people because I'm not interested in that. I don't have any impact on other decisions that other people make. Mm-hmm. If other people do crazy stuff, that's not because of me. I am only in control of me. I don't have any control over what they say, do, think, feel, any of that.
Right.
I have control over myself. And I pride myself in being in control of myself, And that doesn't mean that I don't make mistakes. I'm still going to make mistakes. That's part of being a human being. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to say something people don't like. You're going to not say something that people wanted you to say. It's going to happen. It is what it is. Like, you got to try to do the best you can. I can look myself in the mirror and know that I'm doing the best I can. I can look at myself in the mirror and be like, you didn't do anything to hurt people yesterday. You're being responsible. You're taking care of your body. You're treating people with kindness. You're being respectful to people. Mm-hmm. You're not taking advantage of anybody, like, and accurately know these are facts. Like, these aren't just like my opinions of myself. Like, I'm able to like take that accurate self-appraisal, self-assessment. And I think that abstinence, if you want to call it that, or sobriety, if you want to call it that, that has helped me get to a place where I'm capable of that. And again, it doesn't have to be that way for everybody. You gotta figure out what's right for you. Like, everybody's different, man. Like, some people, I know plenty of people who drink and they are fine. They don't have any issues. I know plenty of people that are stone cold sober and they don't have any issues. There's also people I know that are very, very insecure about seeing other people that have quit everything. That makes them really uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, and it's funny because there's parallels I can draw. Like, it's like the people that get really upset when somebody wants to exit the military, and it's like, what are you upset about?
What are you upset about, dude?
They've decided that this is not my thing. They don't want to be in the Marine Corps. They don't want to be in the Army. They don't want to be in the military.
Yeah.
Like, what's the issue here? And like, it's always mind-boggling to me when people will say, or they'll get upset because somebody wants to quit doing something that is objectively negative.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I kind of get why people, are they have misgivings with somebody getting out, because there's people that have gotten out of the military, and I'm like, brother, I don't know what you're gonna do outside.
Probably should have stayed in. Yeah. There's some of those for sure.
And like. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, but drinking is like, even drinking a little bit, there's I don't know the science behind it. There's probably some positive, but like,
resveratrol is in red wine. Apparently, that's good for heart health. But
there you go.
That's the only thing I know of that's positive about it.
Yeah, but like, it's just so odd to me, and it's very clearly them placing They're looking at themselves. Yeah, they're projecting. And it's upsetting to them. Like, oh.
That happens a lot online, too, I've noticed. Like, people project their insecurities on me as if, like, because they see something I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it's something they think that they're doing inside their own head. And so they try to project that on you as if that's what you're doing. And it may not even be the case.
Yeah, I love when people will, like, message me or comment on, and they'll say things as if it's, like, from a position of authority or whatever. They'll be like, yeah, I saw you at this base in Florida. And I'm like, I've never been to a military base in Florida. You did not see me.
Yeah.
I was not there.
Yeah, there's a lot of people living in delusions, like living in whatever alternate reality that they have going on. But again, it doesn't matter. Like, hey, dude, everybody teach their own. Like, we all live our own lives. We have a serious mental health crisis, which obviously imbibing alcohol when you have mental health issues is not going to help that either, because you're not going to be able to confront those issues or work through those issues or have the willingness to ask for help for those issues.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people drink because they're trying to cover up that stuff because they don't want to feel that way. Right. And so that's a real big problem in the military too, is not just in the military. I'd say that's like a common thing across the board for human beings. Nobody wants to feel like crap. Nobody wants to have to like confront mental disorders or mental health issues that they're dealing with. They want to sweep it under the rug. People don't like talking about stuff that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to
about
talk,
themselves.
especially about themselves, because like they don't want the spotlight on them.
Yeah.
They don't want to like people to be like involved in their personal life.
Yeah.
You know, it's just dude, you got to talk about things. Like talking about things takes its power away from whatever that thing is.
100%.
You know, if you don't talk about it, it's just gonna fester inside your gut, and it's just gonna, you know, cause gangrene of your mental stability.
Yeah.
You
of
know?
the things like the intangible stuff.
Yeah. Your peace of mind, your serenity.
Yeah. You've had kind of an out-of-the-ordinary military career. You commissioned while you were on active duty. You know, you made E6. We've got very similar stories. Can you tell me a little bit about that when you joined? I want to talk about some of your successes. You had some adversity, and it almost feels like it was self-placed adversity that you overcame, and then you chose to join the United States Marine Corps. And now you've seen tons of success doing that, and then we'll talk about your kind of pathway as a content creator.
Yeah. So it took me 7 years to get into the military.
Oh, my God. What?
7 years.
So you started day one, and then 7 years later, you were finally in.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, you got to tell me about it. We got to hear this story.
So, like I said, my partying when I was younger resulted in me getting in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
You know, like legal trouble. And fortunately, I was born with very good parents that took good care of me even when I wasn't taking care of myself. So I was very fortunate with that. But as a result of that, like, what ended up happening is I moved in with a good buddy of mine that I worked with, who happened to be an Army Ranger. He'd gotten out. He served in the 82nd Airborne, and then he was in the Rangers for a little bit in the earlier part of OIF 1. And I think he got out in 2006 from the military. I think he was in from 2002 to 2006, something like that, 4 years. I think. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, I lived with him. He was my roommate for a little bit in Asheville, North Carolina. And at the time, after living with him for a little bit, like once I moved out into an apartment separate from him, I was like, I think I want to join the Army and be an Army Ranger. That obviously never happened, so because I didn't end up going to the Army. Anyway, I walked into an Army recruiting office, and I tried to join the Army for like 4.5, 5 years maybe, to no success. They would basically tell me to like call them back every so often, or like, hey, we've submitted for this waiver. We're waiting on seeing if it gets approved. And I was just waiting tables at the time throughout the entire period. And I would follow up every so often. There's a lot of other stuff going on like that I had to take care of, like as far as legal stuff to be able to apply and get the right documentation and everything. And long story short, the Army it was going through a thing called sequestration, which was a slow tapering of budget for the Army because they were doing a drawdown from Iraq. It was in 2007, 2008.
Oh, I remember.
That was starting. And I kept trying for like 4 or 5 years there, probably about 4 years there. And then eventually like the Army recruiter was like, hey, I just can't get you the waiver. We've been trying for 4 years now. Like, go to the National Guard and see if they can get you in. So I went to a National Guard recruiter, couldn't get into the National Guard.
Wow.
Couldn't get into the National Guard.
The Army National Guard's like the Australia of the DoD. They take
they usually
take
take anybody, right? And they would not take me. And so I went to the Marine Corps, and I was able to get a waiver within 1 year, and I was in recruit training a year later.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
And I know you've told me many times that, you really wanted to join the Army, but you had to settle on the Marine Corps.
Well,
tells me that all the time, like when the cameras aren't rolling.
But here's the thing: is like I was so focused on trying, because I wanted to be like my buddy that I lived with. I wanted to be an Army Ranger.
Really?
Yeah, I wanted to be a Ranger. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
He was such a badass. I was like, I want to be like that guy. He's so freaking cool. And I grew up playing Call of Duty and all this stuff, and everybody thinks like it's so cool being an Army Ranger or being a Green Beret or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like all this prestige associated with it. Obviously now, like, I have a different mindset. I don't really care about a lot of that stuff as much anymore. But
you do take a lot of pride in being a Marine.
100%.
Yeah.
Extreme, because I've earned it.
Yeah.
Earned it. Like, people say I've earned stuff, but like, I relentlessly pursued this to a degree that I don't think anyone will really ever grasp.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a way for me to
you
describe
wanted it.
Yeah, I mean, if I kept at it for 7 years, it's probably because I was willing to do any and everything for it. And that was a brutal period of time, because I was just waiting tables the whole time while I was waiting to try to get a waiver to get in.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to do. So by the time I finally got to recruit training, I was 27 years old, So by the grace of God, whatever, I don't know what happened that finally ended up working out. So I got to recruit training on May 12th of 2014. And went through the, recruit training pipeline, and I was only going to join in the infantry. That was the only job I wanted to do. I wanted to be in the infantry, because I was like, well, if I can't be an Army Ranger, I'm going to join the Marine Corps infantry.
Sure.
Because that's like the next thing that I thought of that would have felt like the same level of
what you wanted to do.
What I wanted to do for mindset, personality, ethos, warrior, everything, like the
cultures.
The culture are the culture, like the Army Rangers and the Marine Corps infantry, very similar.
Yeah.
In the sense that it's extremely competitive. Everybody's driving everybody to be better, stronger, faster, smarter, and they're very, very serious about their profession.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I did. I ended up going to the School of Infantry after I graduated recruit training, and I went there for 2 months. At the time, it was a 2-month pipeline. It's changed. It's changed now. They call it something else. And I think they call it IMC, Infantry Marine Course. I think that's what they call it, I believe. They've changed the pipeline. I think it's like 3 months now instead. So they probably are better trained now than they were when I was going through. There was a 2-month pipeline when I went through. I went through there, and then we got orders to go out to our first duty station. I went out to 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines in the Weapons Company as a 0352, which is a tank, anti-tank missileman, as a tow gunner.
Nice.
And really, I picked that because I thought that they hiked less. Honestly, that was a lie. They hike a lot. They don't hike as much as the 0311s do, which is like our 11 Bravos, right? Because the 0311s are hiking everywhere in the field too, but we still did all the big battalion hikes, and the only difference is like we were carrying 50 cals and Mark 19s and missile systems and stuff like that. So it was actually worse for those, and your feet get all jacked up. But I think the worst hike I ever did was my first workup in December 2014. We did a 30-kilometer hike and I carried the 50 cal receiver, which is roughly 60 pounds, for probably 20 of those kilometers, maybe more, maybe 25. And then I carried the tripod for another, for the other section of it. It was, I had zombie feet after that, and then went home and couldn't walk. Nobody could walk, and everyone went home for Christmas leave, and no one could walk. It was just kind of very stereotypical, like, hey, we're going to do this 30-kilometer hike right before you leave to go home to see your family, and that way they can see how much we're abusing you. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's just kind of funny looking back on it. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, hey, we completed it. Like, it requires a certain level of tenacity, and I, like I said, I worked for 7 years to get in. I wasn't about to quit anything. Yeah. Nothing was going to stop me. Didn't care what it was. I was going to complete it, whatever it was. So got through that. Anyway, I was in the infantry. I did 3 unit deployment programs with them to PACOM. We went to like Japan, Okinawa, mainland Japan, Korea. A bunch of guys went to Thailand, the Philippines. Some guys went to Australia, I think, Indonesia, Malaysia.
Sure.
I did three deployments with them out there. And then I got selected for this E to O program, basically the same thing as you guys have for Green to Gold.
Sure.
We call ours MECEP, which stands for Marine Corps Enlisted Commissioning Education Program.
Gotcha.
And essentially what you do, you get selected for that on a board. I got selected in June of 2018, and then I left the deployment a little bit early to go back to Hawaii, and then I went to Officer Candidate School in Quantico, Virginia for 10 weeks, which is basically boot camp part 2, and in some ways was harder because I was like a senior infantry sergeant when I was there, and I was like...
People expect more out of you.
Well, that, and you have to swallow your pride. Because guess what?
Yeah.
Guess what? You're a candidate now. Nobody cares that you're a sergeant. You're a candidate.
Yeah, for sure.
You're a piece of chewed up bubble gum stuck to the bottom of a desk now.
Yeah.
Good luck. You
Yeah,
know?
people asked me about that when I went through OCS, because I went through as a staff sergeant.
Yeah.
And then obviously it just says, I think it says OCS on the thing that you wear on your chest.
Yeah.
You know, because we wear our ranks on our chest in the Army. But people asked me about that, and I don't know. The response I always gave them was like, if you can't hang that up for like 12 weeks, you don't deserve to be an officer.
That's really what it comes down to. You got to hang it up. You got to swallow your pride and just do what you're told. You're doing everything that everyone else is doing. You're playing the game.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's just a game. You're playing a game. Like, did I know I could get through that? If I could get through 7 years of the things I had to get through to get into the Marine Corps in the first place, you're damn right I could have get through that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm very confident in my abilities as long as my body doesn't physically break or fall apart. Like, you can do anything. You know, if you want it bad enough, you can do it. Just commit to it, like without any reservation. You know, but anyway, so I went through, got done with that. 10 weeks later, I actually ended up graduating. I think I was ranked number 4 out of 227 people or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
My rack mate was like number 2. So he beat me because he was a MARSOC critical skills operator before that. So he was like older, cool guy. He's a prior enlisted. He was a gunny. Or he got promoted.
How big was the class?
I think there was like 200 some odd people there.
Wow, so you get 4 out of 200?
Yeah.
That's
I think I was
really
number
impressive.
4. I think I got like a certificate for it that's in
No
my like
kidding.
my record just because it was just from performance, you
Yeah.
know. And then anyway, so I left there. Went back to, I think it was 4. It was like either 4 or number 8. I think it was 4 though, because I was like, there was like a small handful of us, and all the top people from the class were the ones that were the staff for the final graduation ceremony.
Yeah.
And so I was part of that staff. I believe it was number 4. I think it's in my like professional record. I'd have to look at it, but I'm pretty sure it was number 4. So anyway, there was that whole thing. I got done with that. I finished, went back to Hawaii, waited for my unit to get back from their deployment to Okinawa, right? You know, they didn't go anywhere. They stayed on Okinawa for the entire time, which was kind of a bummer for them. I wish my junior Marines had an opportunity to go somewhere, because like that's a kind of a terrible first experience for them, unfortunately, for a number of reasons. I'm not going to say why, but it kind of sucks if you just go to Okinawa and you don't go anywhere else or see anything else other than that. It's kind of a bummer. But anyway, they came back in November, December time frame, and then I stuck around for another like 5 to 6 months while I was waiting to PCS to go to school. I went off to college in May of 2019, and I started school in the fall of 2019. Went through 2 years of school, actually here, like maybe 20 minutes away from here where we're currently located. Yeah.
Wow.
Because I went to UNC Chapel Hill. So
no kidding.
I went there and I finished my degree there in a couple years, graduated in June of 2021. Which is kind of a weird time to graduate, but I had to do one extra summer semester class.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that, graduated, went to OCS for seven months. I was about to say 7 weeks, but it's 7 months to go to the basic officer course, also known as the basic school, which is where all the officers from the Marine Corps go to get on the same baseline to be prepared to be a provisional rifle platoon commander in case you're ever needed in a wartime scenario. So they expect every officer to be capable of leading Marines in combat, essentially is the purpose of that course. So I went through that 7-month course. that was long and very arduous and hurts your body because you're doing a bunch of stuff, and I'm old. And I'm like, bro, I'm getting too old for this crap now. But, you get through that. I think I was number 38. I think I was, at the time when I got picked for the job that I got picked for, I think I was ranked 38 or 39 out of 227 people or something like that.
Oh, okay, cool.
So it was like...
You did well there, too.
Yeah, I was like in the middle of the top third.
Sure.
So not the best of the best, but I was in the middle of the top third out of the 3/3, right? So not bad. Good enough for me. I don't need to be the best. There's always going to be somebody better, and there's always going to be somebody worse. I just try to do the best I can everywhere I go. Always try to put out, as much as I can. Got done with that. Came back to, or got orders to go to Camp Lejeune, and got orders to become a ground supply chain management officer. So very different from the infantry.
Right.
Like going from, going to the field all the time to now you're working in an office all the time with air conditioning. And then after that, pretty much did that for a number of years. I did an individual augment to CENTCOM for 6 months in 2023. So I was gone for 6 months there in Iraq and Syria for most of that. Spent a week in Kuwait on the front end and on the back end as I'm like leaving and exiting country. And then did a couple more years out there, did a little bit of time as a company commander and then as an actual supply officer, and then now we're here where we're at now, which I'm not gonna say where I'm located currently because that's kind of like I try to keep OPSEC a little bit, but yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at now. I've been an officer now for almost 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think I commissioned at 7 years in.
Gotcha.
Which, yeah, but. Either way, I picked up staff sergeant while I was in college, by the way. Non-competitively, I didn't earn it, really. You know what I mean? Because when you're in that program, you non-competitively promote.
Gotcha.
Which means you're not competing against anybody. You just automatically get promoted to that rank when you're in zone. But the difference is like when you, like a staff sergeant in the infantry for the Marine Corps is a different MOS. Like, so 0369 is like the infantry unit leader for like the Marine Corps.
Sure.
But you have to go to a course that's very hard. It's actually considered one of the hardest courses in the Marine Corps called IULC in order to actually obtain that MOS. So I never obtained the 0369 MOS because I never went to that school. I just became a staff sergeant and maintained my MOS while I was there. And then when I commissioned, it went away and it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I want to give you at least a brief period of time to talk about being a content creator, but like coming from the infantry mentality and just being in the Marine Corps in general, you're now a content creator. You've seen a lot of success doing that. Can you tell me a little bit about how that journey's been in the Marine Corps, just briefly, before we close out?
It's been the most brutal, uncomfortable, awful, but also fun and rewarding experience. It is brutally hard. And if you want to be successful, like, in that space, you have to dedicate so much time and energy to it. It needs to be a second job for you because you need to set goals, you need to set deadlines, and you need to hit a minimum number of videos per day, every single day on every platform. And you need to have an account on every single platform, and you need to develop relationships with people that can help you when you have problems, and you need to be good to people because the problem is everybody in the veteran military space, there's people that are good to each other and there's people that are not good to each other. And the people that are not good to people that like do a lot of bad mouthing other people or talking trash, they make a name for themselves.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then people find out who those people are without anybody else talking about it because they just make a reputation. And so like try to stay, if you're going to do it, you got to stay out of the drama. Stay above water, stay above board. Don't talk about people poorly. Like reserve all judgment for people for yourself. You can judge yourself. You can hold yourself to a higher standard. You can't hold anyone else to a standard.
Yeah.
If they're not your employee and you're not paying them to hold them to a standard, you can't hold anybody else to a standard. It's not like you're a chain of command or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like if you're in the veteran military like creator space, hold yourself to that standard.
Yep.
That's fine. You can hold yourself to that high standard and make sure that you're meeting the mark, but you have no impact on what other people are doing. And like you have to be capable of disconnecting from that stuff, because you have to juggle two jobs, right?
Yeah.
Like you're going into work. When you're at work, work is what your focus is. Your people that you're working for should be what your focus is on.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you go home, you're working on this stuff, right? And being able to separate the two and segregate those two, that is a tough challenge.
Yeah.
So most of my stuff that I do on the outside is done, well, all of it's recorded outside of work, obviously. Yeah. Most of it's recorded at like 5 o'clock in the morning before I go to work.
Sure.
And I don't know what people think I'm doing all day, but like I schedule stuff out.
Sure.
So that way it auto posts while I'm at work dealing with work stuff.
Yeah.
Because they deserve my undivided attention while I'm there.
Yeah.
You know, and it's changed. It's changed. It's evolved. I've made lots of mistakes, you know. And as I've learned how to navigate, and it is very difficult because we're held to a different standard than your average civilian content creator that just lives with their mom in their basement. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we're held to a different standard.
Yeah.
There's different rules and regulations that we're subject to. There's a different left and right lateral limit that we're subject to.
Sure.
You know, so it's very stressful in that regard. And learning how to navigate that has been very stressful. You know.
Well, we really appreciate your time. Appreciate you driving across state lines to be here with us. You know, it really does mean a lot, man. And I think your story is going to be incredibly inspirational. We talked about your childhood. You know, you started drinking a lot younger than most people do. You got it also under control a lot younger than most people do. And you feel that because of that, you have flourished, right? You feel that if you had continued down the path you were on, you would not have the success you have today in the two domains that you operate in. I want to give you the opportunity to say anything you want to the audience, and anything at all that you feel needs to be said or that we didn't cover.
Yeah. I think the bottom line is that the one thing I want to drive home is that if you are having a hard time and you feel like your life has become unmanageable, or you are constantly in a state of unhappiness, or you're constantly in a state of trying to like do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, and you want to find a change, and you think drinking may have an impact on that, even if nobody's told you before, like, it is okay to ask for help. It is okay to ask for help, and that is actually a sign of strength, is asking for help when you need help. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, and if anybody looks down on you, then those people aren't your friends, and their opinions of you don't matter. If anybody gives you a hard time for asking help, those people don't matter, and they have their own issues, and that's something you have to segregate, unfortunately, because not all humans are made equal. Not all humans are good people. There are some people out there that maybe they're dealing with their own demons, you know? But at the end of the day, fact of the matter is if you need help, nobody should be holding it against you for getting it, and you need to know that, like, you should be receiving the support that you need if you are trying to better yourself. And for me personally, it's changed my whole life, setting that aside. I don't spend any money on it.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of spending money on alcohol, I spend money on food. So I eat good, right? And I eat very basic. I just eat basically red meat every day, like
nobody is surprised by
eggs.
that, Kagan.
I literally just eat like literally eat like red meat and eggs every day, and like fruit and mixed nuts and stuff, because I'm doing this like paleo keto thing just to try to lose weight, because as you get older you get fat, and I'm trying not to be fat. But anyway, again, bottom line is, like, if you need help, don't be afraid to ask for it or seek it out. And if you feel like what you've been doing over and over again is not working, don't be afraid to try something different, you know. And I know, like, drinking is never going to make you feel better. So if you're drinking because you want it to make you feel better, it is like spinning your tires. It's not going to help you. And that could be applied to any substance. I would definitely say that PT is the one thing that saved my life for sure. Mm-hmm. And, you know, a lot of the time, developing a relationship with a higher power of your own understanding could also help as well. And then developing, like, helping people. Helping people helps you get outside of yourself too. That's a good way to get outside of your own head, is to do things that are good for other people and try to do things that benefit other people without expecting anything in return. That is also a positive thing. But at the end of the day, like I said, man, if you feel like you need help, don't be afraid to ask for it. Nobody's going to hold that against you. And if they do, then those people don't matter anyway.
Yeah.
You know, that's my 2 cents on it. And it's changed my life, man. Like, I wouldn't be where I was today if it weren't for the decisions I've made to cut all of that out of my life, because now I have all of this space for all kinds of other activities that are way more beneficial and I enjoy a lot more, you know?
Yeah.
So that's it, man.
Well, it's incredible. We really appreciate your vulnerability. We appreciate you sharing a lot of things, you know, potentially things you've never talked about, like, publicly.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is the Check Your Six Pack podcast, a veteran podcast done in conjunction with the Center for the Study of Traumatic Stress and Uniformed Services University. We really hope you enjoyed this story, and we will see you next time.
Listen up, Nerd Briefing inbound.
And no, you can't get a profile to skip this segment of Behind the Beakers.
I'm Dr. Sarah Maggio.
And I'm Kelly Huber, here to deliver some science about the physical and psychological effects of alcohol.
Any good meathead knows breaking down muscle is important for building muscle, which is dictated by the balance between rates of protein synthesis and protein degradation.
This is controlled by 2 fundamental processes, anabolic, or building up, and catabolic, or breaking down. Anabolic and catabolic signaling pathways are critical for building and maintaining muscle mass, but alcohol breaches the perimeter and disrupts the full operational capacity of your workouts.
If you're drinking heavily, it doesn't matter that you had 12 boiled eggs for breakfast.
Alcohol impairs muscle protein synthesis, induces muscle protein degradation, and slows muscle recovery.
So no gains for you.
There is also the dreaded beer belly. Alcohol reduces the amount of body fat that is oxidized or broken down, causing increased body fat and weight gain, which accumulates over time.
Ever wonder why happy hour is right before dinner time? Alcohol activates the appetite by increasing a vital component of the digestive process known as gastric secretion.
Science is being used for evil manipulation tactics.
Incorrigible!
Other than his dedication to physical fitness in his adult years, Kagan also talks about his younger years and using alcohol to feel more comfortable in social situations. This is so common that someone gave it a catchy nickname, Liquid Courage.
But how many drinks does it take to go from having enough courage to talk to that cute girl at the party to getting kicked out of the party for starting a fight with your buddy's big screen TV?
Or worse, how many drinks until you're waking up in Vegas with a questionable tattoo and a new spouse?
Really tackling the important scientific questions here. Let's get to the science of the effects of alcohol at different blood alcohol concentrations, or BACs.
Quick sidebar. For scientific accuracy, we'll talk about this in terms of BACs, not the number of drinks. This is because actual BAC levels depend upon a variety of factors like body composition, weight, speed of drinking, food intake.
Lots of things. It's different for different people, but there are plenty of online BAC calculators if you're curious.
Now let's start small. At a BAC of 0.01 to 0.02, you're feeling a little warmer, a little looser, a little happier.
That's the I just got here, first beer down, feeling good phase. Relaxed, elevated mood, maybe a little glow. Nothing dramatic yet.
0.03 to 0.04 range, you're a little more exhilarated, a little more chatty, but your judgment is starting to blur. Your inhibitions are going down, and you're experiencing some mild memory impairment.
This is about the amount of liquid courage needed to talk to that guy or girl out at the party without making a complete fool of yourself.
For those of you who fell asleep during the ASAP training, many installations have a 0.04 limit for driving.
And some installations have a zero tolerance policy.
At the 0.05 to 0.06 range, people start feeling a lot less anxiety, but your behavior becomes more exaggerated. You have louder speech, blurred vision, and some emotional swings. Coordination and concentration start dropping, and short-term memory loss begins.
Basically, the fun friends stage, until your judgment starts to slide and you start texting your ex.
At a BAC of 0.08, the threshold for intoxication starts. Mild impairment for balance, speech, vision, reaction time, and muscle coordination, and cognition is compromised.
Do not drive. You may still think you're fine, but you're spilling drinks on yourself and getting into arguments with door handles.
The 0.1 BAC means you have significant coordination impairment and impairment to your judgment. You're slurring words, and you're starting to stagger.
We're not just talking about bar fights and drunk calls to your CO. We're talking about increased risk for injury and harmful behaviors.
Once BAC hits 0.15, there will be a loss of control of balance and voluntary muscles. Walking and talking become difficult. Your vision blurs, blackouts are possible, and nausea and vomiting start to kick in.
This is the point where jokes should be put aside because things can get dangerous fast. At this BAC, the person should be kept in a safe place and monitored for alcohol poisoning.
The 0.20 to 0.29 range is severe. Confusion, disorientation, aggression, blacking out, choking risk, and danger for alcohol poisoning.
Pain perception is altered, so serious injuries could occur unnoticed.
At 0.3 to 0.35, there is a high likelihood of becoming unconscious. This level of alcohol is comparable to surgical anesthesia.
Heart rate and breathing becomes irregular, and there's a significant risk for sudden death. Immediate medical attention is required.
Levels of 0.4 and above cause respiratory failure, circulatory collapse, and may cause permanent brain damage and put you in a coma.
This is a critical medical emergency and a lethal BAC range for most people.
Again, we're not here to shame anyone for their drinking behaviors. We just want to provide you this information in the hopes that it'll help keep you safe.
If you or someone you know needs help, Military OneSource has free, confidential counseling and other resources. Visit militaryonesource.mil to learn more.
Stay sharp, drink smart,
and keep each other safe.
Hey, I want to tell you about Pushups for the Mind.mil. It's not just another mindfulness app. It's an evidence-based training program built for service members by neuroscientists working with the Department of War. This isn't about zoning out or relaxing. It's a structured training path starting with short daily sessions that build into a 4-week program. You'll learn how attention works and you'll train it, just like physical fitness. Each step builds mental strength, sharper focus, and better composure under stress. It's designed for the demands of military life, and it's free for anyone with a .mil address. Start your journey with Pushups for the Mind.mil and make your attention mission ready.